You know ID in the town all day. ID in the SEA. You know ID in the town all day. ID in the SEA.
Hello and welcome to episode 496 of the fabulous Peltoncast, sponsored by our friends at Pagliacci Pizza. I'm your co-host, Kevin Pelton.
And I'm Tristan Carcino.
And we're coming to you from separate locations this week. I'm in Seattle, Washington, home of the University of Washington.
Hello.
And Demond Williams Jr. for now. Where are you?
I'm coming to you from Renton, Washington, home of the Super Bowl 48 champion and number one seeded Seattle Seahawks.
There it is. It's the Cortez Kennedy episode of the pod, and very appropriate, recording shortly after the U advances to the college football playoff final with their victory over Ole Miss, a thrilling win where we, depending on the results of the Oregon-Indiana game on Friday, could be the world's biggest Miami fans next a week from Monday, I guess.
I'm not concerned.
Okay.
We both boldly predicted that Indiana would win the national championship.
we are
never go wrong
on that. Very much so.
The crazy thing is, I feel like we made these bold predictions. We did not talk to each other about these beforehand.
No.
And I feel like we settled on, like, it wasn't out there in the ether that much that everybody was predicting a massive season from Julio. And then all of a sudden there was kind of a wave of everybody predicting a massive season from Julio.
I think that was known. I think there was a reason we went that direction.
We tapped into the hive mind.
We're not as creative. Some of the listener bold predictions have been quite creative, including, what was this one? Oh, from Cascadia Pirate earlier today. Bold prediction. Pablo Torre hints at a massive NBA scandal to be broken on an upcoming episode. The Peltoncast Discord is intrigued, but Kevin is uncharacteristically quiet. In the next episode, Pablo reveals that a previously unknown third party had a massive role in the creation of the NBA collective bargaining agreement. Pablo's research covers that a cabal of trade and signing grading media members intentionally made the NBA salary structure convoluted in order to maintain the importance in decrypting front office machinations. The story was broken when Bobby Marks was arrested for trespassing at the Watergate Hotel in D.C. during WNBA labor negotiations, causing the entire scheme to unravel. There was a brief hiatus for the Peltoncast, followed by a Notes app apology from Kevin, though he refuses to address the allegations on the pod. To which I responded, I would never do a Notes app apology.
There we go.
Then we had a variety of good jokes about statistical apologies. So don't forget to regress your opinion of my actions to the meme. Yeah. So we should probably start with the Demond Williams Jr. saga. Which it fully played out in the time where we did not record in the past 5 days here.
I mean, it has been an incredible wave of emotions that have happened through this process, both positive and negative. The rationalizing that happened, the way that I would have gotten on this podcast and rationalized as of yesterday or earlier today, it was going to be historic. It was going to make the Mariners losing in Game 7 of the ALCS look like nothing, right? That would have seemed like the least amount of rationalizing that has ever existed, the way that I was going to rationalize. But I was going to start with a question for you. So how are you going to blame this on Jed?
Well,
and I will ask you that same question right now. So how are you going to blame this on Jed?
I do think there is a certain danger in pitting all of your, excitement for the future. Not all of it, obviously, Desmond Roebuck and, the incoming recruiting class, etc. But a lot of the excitement about the future of the Husky program is pinned on one player. And there is a certain danger.
Oh, it's not. It's not, though, because I had already rationalized all the other players.
I mean,
it was not, when I rationalized, it wasn't pinned on one player. It was pinned on a coach who can make players, who can clearly, I mean, if you look at Noah Fafita's stats, this is my rationalizing.
Find and develop players like
Find and develop players. But if you look at Fafita's stats under Jed versus the 2 seasons after, including one with top 10 pick Tedero McMillan, like Noah Fafita's season 2 years ago at Jed it's far and away he was a top 10 quarterback in the country then. Noah Fafita is the best quarterback that season is the best quarterback season that Jed Fish has ever coached.
I mean, he was the quarterback coach in New England for Tom Brady at one point, wasn't he? He was the best college season and the best where he called plays.
As a head coach.
The play caller is probably the most important distinction here.
I'd have to look for that. But yes, the Fifita season was way better than Damon's season was. Like if Fifita had transferred to UW then, we'd have never heard Damon Williams' name. You know what I mean?
So number one, well, that's the thing is like I go back to the parable of the Chinese farmer that I laid out with the whole Kalen DeBoer era.
Do you think that I didn't think of that parable this week?
Oh.
The parable was thought of.
No, if Fifita didn't transfer to UW, what a huge disappointment. Maybe so.
Well, I mean, it was the same Jake Hayner, right? You could always just like it gets further and further and further back.
I also want to like flash back to the moment I first found out about this because I was just working away on my NBA salary cap sheet that our cabal puts together.
Me too. We shared Google sheet that we had.
You're not part of the cabal. And I get a text from the leader of our NBA group saying, "Sorry about your quarterback."
And you were like,
my
Sam
first thought
Darnold?
was like, yeah, did Sam Darnold get hurt? Like, what happened? And like, it didn't even process the possibility that Damon Williams Jr., who the UW has announced has re-signed his NIL contract, could potentially be announcing his intention to transfer. So it definitely caught us like fully off guard when it first happened on Tuesday.
I was driving home, and literally the entire drive home with Luca, I was just talking about how good UW football was going to be the next year. It was like I was like, all they need to do is go find a quarterback.
Definition of,
I'm like, maybe an edge player, a quarterback. We've got a kicker. We've got a punter. We're good.
You were like maybe a cornerback who played for Jed at Arizona.
I mean, I didn't know the specific quarterback, but yes. But no, I was specifically just like, all of these things are going great in my head. And then Luca was like, oh shit, oh fuck, oh shit, Damon's gone. And I was like, you're wrong. You know, I was like, that he literally announced that he's staying. I've seen the post. And then I went and looked, and it was one of those moments, you know, when you look at it where you're like, please say psych, you know, and that is eventually what happened. And today when I saw the post about Damon, it was like he's considering coming back to UW before it's official. And I was on the phone with a friend who's a big Minnesota Timberwolves fan. And I was like, I've already shit talked this guy so much over these last 2 days. Like I've already done all the work I've rationalized it. I've looked at his stats against top 50 defenses. I've internalized. I was like, you know what? I'm fucking sick of defending him against ESPN senior writer Kevin Pelton, number one Damon Williams Jr., and maybe more so Jed. I don't know. Hater. But I was like, I've had to defend this guy so many fucking times that fine, whatever. Give the people what they want. And by the people, I mean ESPN senior writer Kevin Pelton. But then I was like, imagine the Karl Anthony Towns trade. They just said, sorry, oops, right after. I was like, that's what this is like. All of those emotions you felt that night and people you texted, if like the next day they were just like, psych, that didn't actually happen.
I mean, my guy, this does happen with NBA trades that are rescinded due to physicals. Mark Williams trade happened just last year.
A little different, but yes, there's so much more at stake than the
I agree.
Mark Williams. This is like a starting caliber. Yes. It's not quite Luka, but it's like if a starting caliber NFL quarterback was traded.
Yes. I mean, I don't know that there's a good precedent for this size of a trade. Although Sean Elliott, I think, got traded for, Sean Elliott got traded to Houston and that got rescinded when like Sean Elliott was an all-star caliber player. So that was a pretty big one due to, I think he had an issue with his kidneys. It's funny that you say all this because I very much looked at the stats and looked at the transfer portal, available quarterback rankings and was like, yeah, there's no way that they're going to get anyone nearly as good as Damon Williams Jr. for next season.
That was your takeaway?
I mean, not again is a believer in the parable of the Chinese farmer. I don't ever think we're fucked, and especially like
who amongst us on this podcast has talked themselves into Bo Prabula having a better season than Damon Williams? Right here, there's one of us.
Maybe Keeney McMillan is actually great. life is complex and uncertain. Regress your opinion to the mean. But
Aren't all
I
Trestans.
this idea that like, oh, it might actually be a good thing for the Huskies. They'll get a better quarterback. Like, no, I do not think that is a reasonable mean expectation for had Demond Williams Jr. in fact transferred.
I definitely thought about it. I considered it where I was like, but actually, again, I was going to rationalize of epic proportions.
Okay.
I'm not telling you that it would have been like a minor rationalization. It wouldn't have been like, you know what, it was a great time that we had with Damon. We should have celebrated him, blah, 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 blah. They achieved the highest heights they've ever achieved. Because none of that is true. They really haven't achieved anything yet with Damon. We haven't seen like this is like Jose Cruz Jr. level trade.
How dare you disrespect the LA Bowl in that manner?
Yeah. The LA Bowl was the worst night of my life. If I would have known this information too, it would have been like I spent the entire LA Bowl just being like Jed's gone to Michigan. So
I mean, that's the other
I
thing.
don't enjoy this sport that I enjoy. I enjoy no part of it.
There was this period where it was like, oh, thank God Jed is staying. It means Demond Williams Jr. is staying.
No, I mean, that was a large part of it. Whereas like, but then I got to the point in rationalization, which is like, Demond's whatever. The 19th best quarterback coming out of high school. Jed Fish makes quarterbacks. Demond Williams doesn't make quarterbacks.
So-and-so made Hove, make a new Hove is my always thought on this one.
But also, he kind of did.
With him and Noah Fafita, he certainly did. I mean, we'll see. The future is uncertain and not as good or as bad as it seems at any given moment. I'm glad that I don't have to walk back a lot of excessive moralizing about not wanting Demond Williams Jr. on my team anyway, which I think a lot of people in the Seattle area do.
Oh,
and I do think in the context of the broader life events in the United States of America, like obviously, you can't put every action in life in the context of, senseless killings of unarmed civilians. But I do think there's a moment where you have to step back and talk about how dare this college football player break a contract with my team and go play for another team. And yes, the fact that it happened during the celebration of life for Mia Hammett is, really unfortunate. And I think everyone involved wishes it didn't happen that way, I'm sure. As Demond Williams Jr. said in his statement coming back to Seattle, I don't think you're actually honoring the life or the battle of Mia Hammett the way that you think you are by shaming Demond Williams Jr. publicly.
Complaining about, yes.
So
no, I do agree with you that there's a lot more going on in life than this Demond Williams transfer.
Yes, that's my bold take. That there's more going on in life than the NIL system. And I do think it's interesting to sort of wonder what this means going forward, because people were describing this as perhaps the highest profile test of these NIL contracts that teams are signing players. It does seem somewhat clear that nothing would have prevented Demond Williams Jr. from playing for another team, but whether said other team could in fact pay him based on his NIL would have been an entirely different issue, and it would have been interesting to see what would have happened. And presumably,
you saw
either
the
that
reporting
team,
from Ross Dellinger, right?
I'm not sure I saw that one specifically.
If he had left, Demond Williams would have owed Washington the value of his contract, $4 million. Sources tell Yahoo Sports his new school would have also incurred a reduction in its revenue share pool next year by that amount per House settlement guidelines.
I mean, everything is subject to lawsuits. I think, you can write anything you want in a contract. It doesn't matter what you put on the contract. It matters what the court says about the contract. So we will see if that would have held up. I pretty clearly, some side decided this was not worth the risk in the fight, and that's fine. As to what it means for Demond Williams Jr.'s relationship with his teammates and the UW coaching staff, that's tough for me to say. Is he just going to go back to Doug Hendrickson as his agent again?
I think that relationship is over. I mean, that was the part where I just like, I'm as a person who's like worked in agencies, think about how this happens through agencies, and it is a thing that gives me trauma because I've dealt with it. On the other side, I repped Wu-Tang Clan officially, and if you think there aren't other people who are repping Wu-Tang Clan unofficially in the world, that would be untrue. But like, so it is something that is just like, it gives you that gross feeling of just like, oh God. And I think Damon, he fucked up. He fucked up for a second, obviously, in that scenario. But when people are like, how are we going to go back to cheering for Damon Williams? I will tell you how. It's by doing this. Woo! Yes! That is how. We are back to cheering for Damon. It's not like his decision to do this. Or if you had, let's take Jackson Smith and Jigba right now, right? If Jackson Smith and Jigba finished this season and then could turn around and all 31 NFL teams could offer him any sum of money, do you think that Jackson Smith and Jigba is staying in Seattle for the goodness of his heart? Like, it's the contracts that matter here. He could be making so much more money. And if it was in a structure where you could do that, he would do that, but it changes our perspective about it because we're like, he's on our team. And the reason we're happy that he's on our team is because he's under contract to our team, not because Jackson Smith and Jigba talks about all the time how happy he is. Damon Williams, aside from this, has said all the right things. And he's not going to be like throughout the season just being like, I fucking hate it here, by the way. Like, I just don't really buy that that's even how human beings think. And I think there's probably an element of what Ross Dellinger is talking about, and also an element of like, I don't think he took enough time to think about how much he fucked up, if that makes sense. And sometimes
well, clearly this happened very fast because it was only a few days after he signed the contract. And by the way, I wanted to make this point. Remember that charming little naive world where we were unsure about your bold prediction that there was a rumor that Damon Williams Jr. was going to make $3 million on his next contract, and you were like, "Nah, he didn't play good enough. He probably isn't making that much." And subsequently, we learned that his contract with UW is for $4 million, and that someone else offered him dramatically more than that. So,
I mean, I do think that it's also kind of changed my perspective about Damon Williams, which is funny because like if every single quarterback was in the portal, which is partially true, but like if you just took every single quarterback in the country and put them in there, is he the highest paid of all of them? I'd be pretty surprised if that's the case. He's not the best. Like, again, all my rationalizing, Damon Williams is not the best quarterback in the country, but he probably won't be the best quarterback in the country next year.
From the flip side of it, though, this is where I got to in mine is like, I understand how, let's assume this was LSU and Lane Kiffin. There's no, specific confirmation that that's the case. I get how, especially if you had a prior relationship with Damon Williams Jr., who at one point was committed to Kiffin at Ole Miss, how you look at these options and say, fuck it, we're paying whatever it takes to get Damon Williams Jr. I understand that, which is sort of the value of like having free agency for everyone, that there gets to be a point where the seats start to fill up as you're playing musical chairs, and there's a lot of desperation to make sure you get one of the top quarterbacks remaining.
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely does. And it made me think more positively about Damon next year, because I was just like, how good is he actually going to be with LSU? And I was like, I looked at it from every angle and I was like, he's going to be fucking awesome. Like there's, as much as I wanted to, and I was going to cite those 4 games that he played, which Damon Williams played badly sometimes this season. Like that is a thing that you were pressing me about it on the year-end podcast. You were like, your fucking guy, Damon, didn't play that good in a lot of games. And none of this changes that. Damon Williams has to be better next year. And I think it's a reasonable expectation that he will be better, but it also is a reasonable expectation that he might not as well. Progress for college quarterbacks is not a linear year-over-year thing.
It's not. Not really for other positions either, weirdly.
That Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss have had, their stats are quite good. So the talent that he was going to play with at LSU would undoubtedly I'm
have
not
been
convinced
awesome.
that it would be that much better than here.
I mean, to your point about
he's
how
playing
easy
with like a top 20 wide receiver right now.
Last season,
yes,
I'm talking about in 2026.
Next season, probably not. Although just feeling good about Roebuck, but like
I'm excited about his future too.
There may be other players in the portal as well, but like
there's not a Denzel Boston in the portal. That strikes me as unlikely.
And he won't be playing with a Denzel Boston at LSU next year either. Wouldn't have been playing with a Denzel Boston, but you could see it being Trinidad Chambliss. And also, I do think the school that you're at, like a year ago, was Fernando Mendoza the first pick in the draft?
No,
he wasn't. He was in QBR. He was like 50th. And then he joined up with Kurt Signetti, and all of a sudden, I think he's number 1 in QBR. Like,
no, nobody was like, oh, Fernando Mendoza landed at Indiana, like national championship.
I think people like, I liked Fernando Mendoza at Cal last year.
Right.
But I did look at it and I was like, they end up at JKS, Indiana is Mendoza, where everybody's fine. And the reality was Fernando Mendoza ended up looking a lot more like Curtis Rourke did the previous year and has better draft measurables and is younger than Curtis Rourke. And JKS looked a lot more like Fernando Mendoza at Cal statistically, because I do think your situation matters a lot. And that's, it's like, it's Justin Wilcox and it's the talent and it's all of those things. That is why I do think if DeMond had left and UW ended up with he was in Longstreet, right? Is it that different? I'm a little skeptical about that.
I think it's different enough, especially at the case for it, I guess, would be there's a little uncertainty that, maybe you get the higher end outcomes of someone who is more effective against those elite defenses. But like the range between UW is in the mix for the playoff next year and UW repeats this season, it's not that. It's a pretty slim difference to me. And I think the DeMond Williams Jr.'s is that difference,
I mean, it is funny that all of a sudden my anticipation, it went from, I boldly predicted on the podcast, they'd lose 2 games and go to the playoff. And now I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to the playoff. Like, it's something about DeMond being maybe the most in demand. Again, like if Julian Sain is out there, I'm sure that Julian Sain probably gets paid more than DeMond. Like, there are other quarterbacks who probably get paid more than DeMond on the open market. But like the fact that he was in some capacity like the highest paid, who knows? Sam Levitt might get more money than what LSU was willing to offer DeMond. We don't know. We don't have that number yet. So, I mean, if you look at some of the portal rankings, they're higher. DeMond is not the number 1 quarterback in like those portal rankings, but he may have ended up being the highest paid. So It has kind of changed my perspective about the expectations for UW. And this thing where it's like, well, he'll be gone after this year. And it's just like, maybe, but he might have been gone after this year either way. We don't know. Like the way that these contracts are structured, there is not a single player or coach that I could say as a matter of fact will definitely be on UW in 2027. There are a few that I think are more likely, like the Coleman Bruces, who are from Seattle, from Berrien, seems more likely, but it's not 100%. It's not a guarantee. Like and it's the same way that like Kenny Dillingham, he went to Arizona State. He's more likely to be the Arizona State coach. It's not 100%. Jonathan Smith left Oregon State. Like, coaches have left their alma maters to go coach at other places. So I don't know. I get it all. I do think DeMond and Jed, for the most part, have actually had a good relationship. I do think they have actually taken time to have conversations. I think DeMond fucked up. I think DeMond also was looking at some of the legal battle, which I have to give UW credit for, and for being in the Big Ten. Like, this all does come back to their decisions that were made. Like, having Tony Petitti and the Big Ten behind them, where don't think the Big Ten is not celebrating this today.
Oh, 100% they are.
Which is like, it's an important thing for them to have kept DeMond Williams in the Big Ten, even TV ratings wise, you know what I mean? Like, all the different things, right? Fox is celebrating this. Like, there's a reality of, there's a lot more at stake than just the like University of Washington quarterback. It's about where UW is, and it's on Jed. It's on being in the Big Ten, for having the money to hire Jed away from Arizona, for having the money to even go pay him the $4 million. If it had been 6.5 to begin with, they might have just paid him that. You know, like it's not, we don't know as a matter of fact that they don't have the money to pay those extra $2 million. I wouldn't be shocked if they didn't.
I mean, I think it's less about do they have it and more about just how you intend to deploy your resources from a, in a salary cap situation
we might have seen a different, maybe Za'Darius Rainey-Saleh isn't back or something like that, right? Maybe there's another player that isn't back, but it's not like UW didn't have the money, and they're also operating at a budget deficit vis-a-vis many other teams in the Big Ten.
Do you want to talk about the rest of the UW comings and goings?
I think,
or save that for later in the pod.
I think the only thing that we can take from this, though, overall, is Lane Kiffin, retire, bitch! Jesus Christ, letting Lane Kiffin win. I could not stomach it. more than almost anything else. College football is about being about. It's like we have our guys and our team, but them. That's who I really don't want to cheer for. And it is funny how over time, like in the portal era, you just build up all these enemies. I feel like that's all we're doing is accruing enemies right now. And same vice versa too, right? The University of Arizona doesn't like us. But
Indiana fans weren't like didn't care enough at that point to be upset about Michael Penix Jr. transferring to UW. But you want to check out, by the way, the all-time Chinese parable of the Chinese farmer? Michael Penix Jr. going to UW, leading them to the national championship game. How devastating that must have been for Indiana fans. And then they hire Kurt Cignetti, and 2 years later, they're potentially in the national championship game. Life is weird, man.
Do you think that I haven't thought about this? I've thought about this from every perspective, and it's funny.
I hadn't really put that together actually until just now.
People are like, there's so many people on the internet who's like, I'm done with college football. This is too much, and I'm like, this is what makes the sport successful.
Literally, the highest rated, like the Indiana Alabama game was the highest rated playoff game of all time, right, or something like that.
Was it? Because that game sucked. Because Alabama's not good enough to play with Indiana because we're Indiana fans now. But
lifelong Indiana fans.
Somehow the world kept turning and we became Indiana fans. But it is like they managed
to get against Indiana.
Literally the NBA, the lifeblood of this. If you think it's people playing basketball, you're wrong. This is the lifeblood of the NBA.
You're telling happening. This to me, ESPN's Kevin Pelton.
ESPN's senior writer, Kevin Pelton, unless you've been demoted.
Nobody told me I'd been demoted. I mean, I don't. Gotta check my contract.
I might have to demote you. So, okay, anyway. How are you going to blame Jed for this?
I already told you I was going to blame Jed for this. No, I think Jed handled this appropriately from start to finish. I mean, he hasn't really commented other than the statement that was released by UW. But you know, they didn't panic. They didn't immediately set about like, you know, blowing up the bridge so that Damon Williams Jr. couldn't return. So I think the UW administration handled this well in totality.
I didn't really think it was a possibility, to be totally honest, of him coming back. Like, I believed all the people being like, there's no chance. The only people who were saying there was a possibility was the University of Washington.
You know, you got to follow the any chance rule, and to go back to one of my old time favorites. And then there was. There
also have been people who Will Rogers, I think, entered the portal. Am I wrong about that?
Well, I mean, that part of it is not the issue. Like, yes, players.
It's probably accepting another deal.
Well, yes, after signing a contract changes the equation pretty considerably. And, you know, most of those situations happened before there were signed contracts. So it was, you know, a different case where you might have given a verbal agreement, but, you know, it wasn't as legally enforceable.
I mean, the other piece of it that is still true is why it stung so badly. Would it have sucked if Damon had just entered the portal and transferred to LSU? Of course it would have, right? And I still would have done all the rationalizing that I'm talking about, all the rationalizing that rationalizing.
Without question.
But that $4 million would have been there for UW to turn around and have those conversations. They'd probably already have another quarterback on the roster who we'd be talking about, and we'd be talking about how Jed is going to make that quarterback better than Damon Williams.
I mean, I don't know that they would have ended up with a quarterback that much better than Bo Pribula or whoever the option was that they would have gone with at this stage in the process, but they would have had a broader pool to pick from if this had started at the beginning. So.
And also have had money freed up for conversations with other players as well. So if it is, if Bo Pribula is $1 million, whatever, then they have those extra.
Bo Pribula is at least 3.
No way. You are way too high. He's not that high demand.
There's not that many guys left. Again,
where is he going to go? I mean, DJ Legway's. I'm curious what the money is to Baylor, but like the quarterback that. There are parts of this that are going to end up untenable in college football long term. Contracts mattering is probably a good thing. And I do think having longer term contracts is probably going to be better for the sport.
Which it does seem like is permitted as part of the structure from what I've been reading about this. Like, there's nothing preventing teams and players from agreeing to 4-year contracts. And there's nothing preventing them from agreeing to contracts with a specific buyout number. So all of those things that we have talked about is sort of more of a soccer style transfer fee, or, you know, similar to how it works with coaches, where, again, coaches break their contracts every time they change schools. They just account for that in the contracts. It's written in there, and we will probably get there with players as well. Do you want to talk about the rest of the comings and goings now?
Sure.
So two players who did submit notifications to transfer for UW, backup guard Paki Finau, who started 4 games as a redshirt freshman. This one seems pretty clearly a result of Gary Hatchett getting a 7th year of eligibility, blocking his likely path to the starting lineup at UW. So, a bummer to see someone who had shown some promise as a young player, but, a chance for him to get more playing time elsewhere. And then also defensive lineman Caleb Smith, who redshirted in his first year on campus, did not appear in a game last season. All right, who's coming into UW via transfer? We start with Sam Houston State tackle Colt Dieterich, who's listed at 6'6", 310. Started every game at right tackle for Sam Houston State this past season. Spent 3 seasons there total, including a red shirt. So he's got 2 seasons of eligibility remaining. This is interesting, mostly in the context of UW seems to have its starting offensive line figured out, and then specifically the starting tackles with Cody Green coming in and Drew Azzopardi returning. So, is this just like extra depth, or is there going to be more competition, or what this means exactly is interesting.
Give me every offensive lineman that you possibly can is basically what I take from this, because the amount of offensive linemen they used this year was a lot, and I'm sure that it's a conversation that they had with Colt Dieterich, and depth on the line, especially big depth, right? Like this, I am so excited about it.
Well, other place where they needed size clearly was the defensive line, where they've added a pair of players, Ball State's Darren Conley and Sacramento State's Deshaun Watts, both of them who have 2 seasons of remaining eligibility. Conley had 4.5 tackles for loss and a sack and a half last season. Well, Watts was the Hornets' top graded player on defense per Pro Football Focus and an All Big Sky first team selection. He follows edge Deshaun Lynch from Sac State to UW, so a bit of a pipeline there. All right, specialists.
Same with defensive linemen. Like, honestly, all of these positions, I'm just like, I don't know if there's a position where I'm like, give me less of those players, but like,
what about kicker? Because they got a lot of kickers right now.
For that too.
They have a kicker on scholarship. CJ Wallace, who redshirted last year, was brought in by Jed Fish. They have a kickoff specialist returning, and then also added Texas State kicker Tyler Robles, who made 21 of 23 field goal attempts last season, hitting 3 times from 50 yards after transferring from USC.
Huge. I mean, this is something that Jed clearly saw, right? Where did UW special teams rank? In the hundreds as far as efficiencies?
Which is not really because of the kicking. The kicking was, perfectly fine last season. It wasn't as good as it's been 2 years ago, but it wasn't the problem. But yeah, Jed Fish clearly upgrading the special teams. To me, the bigger addition, San Diego State punter Hunter Green, a Kirkland native, Lake Washington high grad whose dad walked on at UW as part of the 1991 national championship team. You talked about how much that story kind of moved you.
I mean, having a person who has legacy, who wanted to play here, his dad passed before last season, right? And to be able to have the opportunity to come back to UW where his dad walked on, it's awesome. This is what college sports is all about, right?
Yep. Second team All Mountain West pick last year. It's hard to read into his raw stats as a punter, because in the Mountain West, you're playing so many games at altitude, but surely a massive upgrade at what might have been the weakest position on the UW roster last year.
This is like what fans want to believe, like the old dudes who are like to the right of us, like those types of the people who have been there since the 90s, right? This is like what they want to believe college sports are, which is everybody's there out of the goodness of their heart. They just they went to the University of Washington.
That necessarily,
but they want to believe that they stepped foot on the University of Washington and they were so moved by the fountain and the mountain and the history and the sailgating that everything about it was just like, I need to be here. It's not about basically like an opportunity and finances, the things that it actually is, which is like roster spots and starting positions and finances. That's usually how players and stuff like that. But like this is legitimately
about these things too.
It is about that also. But like he clearly wanted to be at the University of Washington.
Yeah, and it's great that he has this opportunity. And then earlier Thursday, Virginia cornerback Emmanuel Carnley, who first signed with Jed Fish at Arizona in 2023, transferred after last season to Miami, then subsequently spring transferred to Virginia, where he started 10 games last season, had 8 pass breakups and an interception. 6'3", So this is very much a cornerback in the UW mold that again they all have transferred here, these starters from Arizona, having previously committed to or at least played for Jed Fish and cornerback coach John Richardson there.
And I think had a pretty good season at Virginia as well, Emmanuel
Yeah.
Carnley. So I'm pretty excited about this one. I mean, literally, I was like, the conversation we were having before we heard about DeMond's transfer was like, they need a cornerback. They probably need another edge. Obviously, they needed the big lineman, like they needed some like 3 techs and
They
even
probably
less,
still
right?
need some defensive line help, even with the 2 incoming transfers.
I think a receiver is something that will still make sense. They were slow at the start of the portal, obviously. Like things, they didn't move very quickly. And in the past, they've maybe signed a few more players. Seems like things are picking up a little bit. I mean, you saw the notification that that they have Jaden Lamar, who is a transfer from the school in Eugene, coming in from Lake Stevens. And I looked at it and I'm basically like, can this be the production that Adam Muhammad had? Right? Yeah. Like, I would be shocked if it was that much different. 5'11", 215 for Muhammad, 5'11", or sorry, 6 foot 215 for Muhammad, 5'11", 205 from Jaden Lamar, 5.7 yards per carry, 262 yards this year. Like, is this not somebody you can come in and if the money is a little bit less, or even if he wants to be here? Because I do think Adam Muhammad, after transferring to Cal, like for all intents and purposes, it seems like he just didn't really like Seattle that much and didn't necessarily want to be in Seattle. So that's fine. He ended up at Cal, and I said, best of luck to you, Adam Muhammad.
Absolutely. But if he had ended up at LSU, totally different.
I was not even going to do that necessarily. That wasn't part of my rationalizing, was the being like personally hurt by Damon Williams part of it. All the rationalizing was going to be Damon Williams is bad.
I am sad we missed out on that.
And now, because I don't like, I get it. That's the thing, is that was my number one takeaway. I think the way that everything played out was very bad. And I do think not even like the timing of it was bad. The signing the contract and then immediately after was bad. I think the people involved make me feel gross. We don't even know who they are literally, but like this situation makes me feel gross. But if Damon Williams had just transferred, I would have been happy to have just said Damon Williams is bad and then moved on.
Well, thankfully you don't have to do that.
But I mean, I'm like, we watched the game. I saw him in the first half against Maryland. Like, if we're being honest with ourselves, Damon Williams, like I said earlier, has to be better. I feel like I'm you now. Like
I would never say he has to be better, but I would say he's not as good as you make him out to be.
And he also, I mean, the funny thing is, like,
it's not a Damon Williams Jr. issue. It's a you issue. And by you in this case, I both mean you, Tristan Caracino, but I also mean people like really hyping like
TV when
Damon
you point
Williams
to the
Jr.
camera. It's a you issue.
I believe that's that's Peltoncast Seattle Sports Figure of the Year, 75% you to you.
So, but the other thing is, like, I think the Big Ten and like the Bill Connolly's like SP Plus and stuff like this, I think probably weights the Big Ten even stronger, but like stronger than FPI does.
And clearly it does, because you'd have finished like 13th in S&P Plus, or finished. There's still games being played.
The Big Ten, like the SEC is a good defensive conference. The Big Ten is a great defensive conference. And the competition, I mean, Damon didn't even play some of these teams, right? But like, well, he played 2 of the top 5 teams in the country by defensive efficiency in Ohio State and Oregon. And it's like, no shit, he didn't do good against them because of how good they are. But he has to be able to play well against really, really good teams. And that was going to be part of my argument, is basically like having a fast defense that can stop Damon from running. Like they're going to have to scheme the team a little bit differently next year. And I think that's part of what the Cole Dieterich signing is. And that's part of what Cody Green is like, the line had to get better. The line was much better this year than it was last year. And to even compete at this point, to maximize the value of Damon Williams, you need a really good line, and they're going to need probably better skill position players as well. So there's a lot that has to happen to be able to make that happen. And Jed has to have a hell of a year too.
All right. After all that, should we get into the toasts? It's an oops all Kraken toast this week. First off, and congrats.
Damn, I've been meaning to bandwagon. Did I fucked up.
The game's on right now.
Okay, hold on.
Turn it on.
Bandwagoning at the moment.
They are in overtime as we speak. Against,
I was planning jumping right off the
game
Devon
just ended.
Did they win?
No, they lost.
Oh!
But they get a point.
Okay, there we go. Whatever team they were playing, retire, bitch.
Minnesota Wild. Congrats to Kraken rookie Berkeley Catton, who knitted his first career goal on Tuesday and then scored a second on Tuesday. So really broke the seal in a big way with that one. Is a teenager playing his first season in the NHL. And then congrats to the Kraken's Eli Tolvanen and Capo Kakko, who were chosen for Finland's Olympic roster.
There we go.
Love to see some Kraken ties to the upcoming Olympics, which are definitely happening very soon.
Didn't know that, but
yeah. Milan Cortina.
Did you make a bold prediction about the United? You made a bold prediction about the U.S. soccer team, Christian Oldman. Okay.
Yes. All right, Mariners avoided arbitration with 6 of their 7 eligible players, headlined by Randy Arozarena in his last year of eligibility and Logan Gilbert. Bryce Miller, the lone Mariner who filed for arbitration, currently set for a hearing during spring training, though the sides can still agree to a contract before.
If people want to be mad about players getting their due, the fact that as far as pay goes, the fact that Randy Arozarena is still in arbitration and is such a veteran is just bonkers to me that he hasn't reached free agency yet.
Yeah, he was the hero of the MLB postseason in 2020. It is still in arbitration. I think it's more that Bryce Miller, after multiple years in the major leagues and quality starting pitcher, 2.8 million is his projected, or maybe 2.25 was his arbitration projection. He's going to make less than basically the NBA minimum is what he's going to make. I don't know. I have the Pacers up. I don't want to say he's going to make as much as Jay Huff. He's going to make as much as Mason Plumlee would be the real take here. And no, that's his cap hit of Mason Plumlee. Mason Plumlee makes way more money than that. Anyways. All right, the Kraken had won 8 of 9 entering Thursday, points in all 9 games. So it's now a 10-game point streak after they lost in overtime to the Wild as we were listening along. They matched their season high with 5 goals Monday at Calgary, then crushed it with 7 goals on Wednesday against Boston. They briefly led the Pacific Division, still in a playoff spot, I think, with the results of this loss. Let me double check in real time here. Yeah, tied for 3rd in the Pacific Division and tied for 6th in the NHL overall.
They would still be a wild card either way. Yes. Whether they were 3rd or not, they would be leading the wild card if they weren't in. So
not leading, but they would be 2nd.
They have 48 points, and the Sharks have 47.
Oh, I guess this hasn't updated with their overtime loss yet. My standings were behind. My bad. You're looking at this and you're saying,
lifelong Kraken fan here, so I would know these things. Exactly. I've been bandwagoning them since just a few minutes ago.
Literally all year long.
Since I heard they were in overtime.
So you're looking at this and you're thinking to yourself, well, gee, Kevin, their advanced stats have to be getting better, right?
Why do you have to do this? Why is it always Jed Fish's fault?
And the answer is no.
Oh my God.
Fool, why would you ever believe that? The Kraken only have terrible advanced stats.
They are past the halfway mark of the season. Just accept my Kraken.
They are 30th in Corsi, 31st out of 32 teams in Fenwick. So why are they doing this, you might ask? The reason is
why, how?
How, yes.
Why is to win hockey games, damn it.
Why is a fair question if you're on Team Tank like I am.
But you can't be on Team Tank anymore.
It's getting harder by the time, but they're still not that far out of the bottom of the. Yeah, they're pretty far ahead of the Canucks now.
I'm looking to see if they're still in the playoffs, and you're like, no, they wouldn't be in the wild card.
No,
you're like, let's see how close they are to the bottom in points.
They have opened up.
I'm out here bandwagoning the Kraken, and you're bandwagoning draft picks.
That is the Kraken. They play for the Kraken eventually. That's how it works. That's the rules. You need that sweet, sweet team control.
How much do you have in hockey?
Not that
43
much.
Years like you do in baseball.
I mean, players don't change teams except via trade. Like good players, as far as I can tell, they just sign 10-year extensions.
In hockey?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
we need some middle agents in
contracts are very short. You volunteered.
Let's get stuff going. Yeah.
So when they did this in 2023, when they made the playoffs and had a spectacular fluke season, it was because their shooting percentage was way by far number 1 in the league. This year, it's been a different formula. It's primarily because their save percentage in 5-on-5 situations is tied with these aforementioned Minnesota Wild for best in the NHL. They ranked 24th in the stat last season. So, like, is Philip Grubauer probably playing somewhat better? Sure. Is this likely to continue? No. So we will see if it does not continue as the Kraken head out east for a road trip starting Saturday at Carolina.
I thought my boy Joey Decord was the goalie, so
He is still a lot of it, but Grubauer, like Decord played pretty well last year. The fact that Grubauer is actually playing well has made an important difference, especially because Decord did miss some time due to injury earlier this year. So yeah, he's at a 926 save percentage, Decord at 901. Looks like
second in the NHL. Let's fucking go with Grubauer over here. Trying to figure out what I have to do to be a middle agent. Access to craft work.
Last year, Grubauer's save percentage was 87.5%, so a pretty dramatic.
I'm gonna have to start talking about Bjork a lot more.
Or goalies more likely to be Eastern European? Is this the joke here?
He's German, and there were Icelandic players before. For my boy Capo Caco, come on.
They were actually Finnish, not Icelandic, but we'll get to geography later in the pod.
I remember you saying they were Icelandic.
I don't think Iceland is in the Olympics. I'll double check that. Hockey at the 2026 Winter
Hold on, I'm Googling
Olympics.
things too.
Oh, what are you Googling?
Are there any popular Finnish bands?
There's got to be some popular Finnish bands, right? Yeah, no Iceland in the men's tournament or the women's tournament, alas. You know who is in there?
Who's that?
Latvia. They'll come up later. All right, Seattle Sounders.
And everywhere I go.
Sent a third-round pick in the 2027 MLS Super Draft to Charlotte FC as part of a loan agreement for Serbian midfielder Nikola Petkovic, not to be confused, of course, with NBA legend Nikola Pekovic, who will fill the U22 spot for the Sounders. Pekovic has scored 2 goals in 24 appearances for Charlotte FC over the last 2 seasons across all competitions. After seeing extended playing time for their next pro affiliate, Crown Legacy, in 2023 as a teenager, when he was a relatively expensive purchase for Charlotte FC. The last 2 seasons, part of the reason he hasn't played so much is because he's fallen out of favor with Charlotte coach, and I'm not joking when I tell you this, Dean Smith.
Wow, okay.
They can only accept coaches named Dean Smith in North Carolina, so they had to do it.
Norway.
Is this bands you're looking at? Well, women's basketball, unfortunately. Well,
I don't think I've ever heard of maybe Children of Bodom. I'm like, yeah, I think so. Your top 10 Finnish bands. Him. Like,
I much prefer that. Our women's basketball, the timing of the pod was good in terms of not saying things we'd regret about Damon Williams Jr. on this podcast. It was bad in terms of
I think I said all the things that I would.
You did. It's just a joke. And it was bad in terms of celebrating UW women's basketball knocking off number 6 Michigan on New Year's Day with a 64-52 victory.
And it was really bad in terms of talking about the most popular bands from Finland.
No, it's perfect in that.
Okay.
Wolverines entered that game 11-1 with their lone loss coming by 3 points to UConn. But the Huskies led by 13 at halftime, 18 after 3 quarters. They held Michigan to 33% shooting, including 6 of 28 in the first half. Avery Howell recorded career highs of 22 points and 16 boards, while Yulia Grabovskaya came up big against her former team with 9 boards in 18 minutes. It was a little shaky in the fourth quarter against a Michigan full court press. Huskies committed 23 turnovers, but held on for the double-digit wins to get back in the polls at number 23 in the AP poll. Unfortunately, that return is likely to be short-lived after an 82-67 loss.
That should be like the UW basketball motto, men's and women's motto. Is unfortunately that return was short-lived. I mean, for UW basketball, they've never really sniffed the polls, but and for football also, unfortunately, that return was short-lived.
Yes. To number 15 Michigan State at home on Thursday night. Huskies shot 10 of 29 on twos. It was a tough night for Savia Sellers, who shot 2 of 11 from 3, 5 of 19 overall. Michigan State shot 52% from the field with 3 players scoring at least 17 points. Huskies now headed on their first road trip east of the Rockies, starting with a Purdue team that is 0-5 against major conference competition entering. They were also in action Wednesday. Purdue had at that point no wins over top 100 teams. We will see if that continued on Wednesday, and they did beat a top 100 team and get their first conference win. They beat Wisconsin in Madison 75-67. But
There we go.
Huskies still comfortable favorites to get this road win as they start out their Midwest portion of the Big Ten schedule. Men's basketball coming back from the Midwest where they took on Indiana on Sunday, Purdue on Wednesday. Did you watch both of these games?
Yeah, for the most part. Indiana, I think I watched a little bit less of, but Purdue, I was pretty locked in the whole game.
What were your takeaways? So Huskies lose both of these, 90-80 at Indiana, and a pretty competitive 81-73 loss. Well, not competitive, but they got in it late at Purdue.
I was
and all
going to
things
say,
considered,
I'm like, that was your takeaway, was that it was pretty competitive, a game that they never got within 10, basically, the entire second half.
But at the end, on the road against the number 4 team in the country in KenPom, not too shabby.
But it also took like Kamari Peterson playing kind of out of his mind for this game. And maybe that's what Kamari Peterson is. I haven't necessarily seen it that much, but it did feel like,
I mean, 5 of 12 on threes. I don't know that I would describe as out of his mind.
I've seen Kamari Peterson other games, but like
I agree with that. He also did shoot 42% on threes last season.
And there was some finishing that Purdue had around the rim where it's kind of like, yeah, they probably would finish stronger. But I mean, my takeaway is Braden Smith is awesome. It was one of those games where I was like, damn, where do you find one of those? Because the game that he had when they needed a bucket to just like, there's nobody on the UW roster that is like even close to that.
Yeah, no, Braden Smith is.
And granted, he's probably the best player in the country, maybe.
I don't know if he's the best player in the country because the freshmen have generally been better statistically this year.
Like Boozer and people like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jaron Peterson, when healthy, has been pretty freaking awesome. Where is he in the KenPom Player of the Year rankings? He's number 5 in that category, so he's way up there.
Know what Danny Sprinkle was thinking with Nicole Zapina though in this game, who's a person I'd never heard of. So, like,
mentioned many times in this podcast, Nikola Zapina, the freshman who joined the midseason from Serbia.
No recollection of Nikola Zapina in those conversations, but there's a difference between maybe hearing about the podcast and seeing him play and seeing him decide that he was going to shoot 5 threes in this game when it was like against everybody's better judgment. It's like when you're playing like pickup basketball and there's one person who you're like, why the fuck do you keep shooting? Like, nobody here wants you to shoot. What are you doing? That was Nicole Zapina. So it was a little frustrating in the first half. The turnovers obviously were terrible. I mean, they finished the game with only 13 turnovers, but that did seem like it hurt them early. They're like
forced 6 apiece from Trey Kaufman-Renn, who had 14 points and 14 rebounds, and Braden Smith, who had 23 in this one.
I thought it was a respectable performance in the end.
That's how I would describe it.
Against a very good Purdue team. So I didn't leave that. But also there are some shots they made where I was like, and maybe my expectations for UW making shots are lower than they should be, because maybe shooting 31% from 3, or like they didn't shoot particularly well in this game.
Yeah, I mean, for the season, they're at 32% from 3, which is bad, granted, but
I think I might have gotten to the place where I'm so low on the team that them playing at that level, I was like, well, this is unsustainable.
So you're at the Demond Williams Jr. rationalization point with UW men's basketball.
But I mean, it's a lot fairer with UW men's basketball. At least Demond Williams has played good. He plays good against the bad teams. They lose to not the bad teams. Seattle U, of course, lifelong Seattle U fans. But like,
they almost took down Gonzaga. I'm very curious to see what happens when Gonzaga comes down. Unfortunately, they subsequently lost at Oregon State on earlier Thursday night. I haven't been referring to this as Wednesday. It is Thursday. They lost by 13 at an Oregon State team that is number 210 in the KenPom ranking. So that was not a great result for Seattle U.
Some of Hannes's finishing, though, isn't incredible what Hannes can do. He's the type of player where you're like, man, if he wasn't going to be a first round pick, if you could have Hannes for 2 years, he'd be one of the better players in the country next year, I think. And I thought Frank Kepnong also was so huge in this game.
Double,
And
10 points, 10 boards.
it didn't exactly hurt them when he went out, but they needed a little bit of size. I don't know what it is about Danny Sprinkle. Like, I just, he's fine. Like, they don't seem like they're an extraordinarily well coached team offensively or defensively. And I think that might matter eventually.
Probably.
But there's nothing that they do where I'm like, wow, they're really good at that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And there are some times where I'm like, they were pretty out of position defensively there, but they hit their free throws pretty well, and they hung in this game. So it does make me think they can beat some Big Ten teams. They're not. This is not a tournament team. I don't think they are, at least as it stands right now.
Probably not without Wesley Yates the third. That's a big loss, but a more winnable game as part of this brutal start to conference play on Sunday when they host Ohio State, who is 10-4 under 11-4 after they won Thursday at Oregon by 10 under. Which Oregon, by the way, things are not going super great for Oregon. Thus, 1-4 conference play, lost at Rutgers in overtime, which is not a good loss. 11-4 under second-year coach Jake Diebler. Their best win came by Notre Dame by 1 point against Notre Dame. They have only one loss to a team outside the Ken Palm top 30 at Pitt, also by 1 point. They're number 25 in adjusted offensive efficiency behind 62% shooting on twos. Senior guard Bruce Thornton has been one of the NCAA's best finishers, hitting 67% on twos to go along with 44% on threes and 86% on free throws for a 703 true shooting percentage. Buckeyes not nearly as strong defensively, particularly around the rim. 7-foot senior Christoph Tilley on a Steinbach's countryman. And, you're also, I guess, getting into recruiting Germans now. So
being a middle agent.
Not a rim protector whatsoever, despite his size. So this is an opportunity for the Huskies to go to the rim. Desmond Claude and Hannes Steinbach to have success in the paint.
I'm busy bandwagging Santa Clara basketball over here. So,
wow, you're not even going to Kraken and Santa Clara both ahead of you in men's basketball. You hate to see it.
Hello. Oh, what a board. Let's tie this up, boys.
They're playing against Gonzaga right now?
Yes. Yeah.
What's the score?
Hold on 1 second. Nope. Still 53-51 Gonzaga.
Gonzaga, not a strong start to their final trip through the West Coast Conference.
They just got an and one. Is Ike their best player?
Yeah. Britton Huff has had a nice year, but it's probably still Ike in like his 8th year of college eligibility. All right, Seattle Seahawks. Let's wrap up with them enjoying their bye week. Elijah Arroyo has been designated to return from IR. This is something I think you talked about on the post Niners pod. Is
if this was Oregon football, they'd be complaining about the bye week the entire time. They would be talking. They would be holding whole press conferences 2 years later about how the bye week screwed them up. So I'm happy that they're enjoying it, because if it was, you would be a coach who was leaving the program to be a head coach in another program and talking about how mad you were about having a bye week. So
having to be the number 1 seed.
Yeah, just the horrible situation that it is being the number 1 seed. But I think Mike McDonald's teams come to play. I guess we'll find out.
We've never seen Mike McDonald coach a playoff game before, so
it was sometimes I think we talk about like college versus NFL coaching, and just thinking about Mike McDonald coaching in college is like, it is just bananas to me to imagine that, but it happened not that long ago.
For like 1 season, yes. Well, one of the uses of that bye week, the Seahawks coordinator might be heading to a new job as well. We don't know yet. Clint Kubiak, something good happened for Santa Clara. It was a legitimate fist bump for the listener, benefit of the listener. Clint Kubiak has been requested for interviews by 5 teams: the Cardinals, the Falcons, the Giants, the Raiders, and the Ravens. Interviewing with the Raiders Friday, per Ian Rappaport of NFL Network. I don't know if I've seen any specifics on some of those other interviews. So you have the opportunity to interview virtually during this bye week, then can't again until either the team is eliminated or the week before the conference championships, and the first week between those and the Super Bowl is the other window to interview prior to the Super Bowl. Defensive coordinator Aiden Dirty was also requested for an interview by the Cleveland Browns. It's an interesting validation of his role in the Seahawks defensive success, even as someone who is not a play caller in that defensive coordinator role, where it really is Mike Macdonald's defense, but really Dirty has played a key role as well in turning this into the number one scoring defense in the NFL.
What if you had to guess on Clint Kubiak, do you think he ends up with the job this year?
So when we recorded the Bold Predictions podcast, my prediction was no.
I thought we were both kind of joking.
What do you mean?
Well, we both boldly predicted that Mike Kafka would be the offensive coordinator of the Huskies or of the Seahawks.
No, that was my prediction from 2025. Bold prediction was that
I thought you made it. Oh, that was only me this year. I thought you made another bold prediction about.
No.
Okay, that was just me. Sorry, I was the one who boldly predicted.
My thought was that
Kafka is going to end up being the offensive coordinator of this team one way or another.
Mike McDaniel's on the market now. That would be very exciting. If Kubiak gets another job
and be very confusing.
Mike McDaniel and Mike Macdonald.
Yes,
I'm into it. My thought was the Seahawks were going to probably win on the strength of their defense, and the offense was going to be a little shaky in the playoffs, and that wouldn't necessarily translate to getting him a job. But you also look at now, A, the number of openings there are, and there's a lot, and B, the lack of, experienced, successful play callers who have not been head coaches previously. All that does point to this being a very good time for Clint Kubiak to be the hot candidate that he is. So,
how upset would you be if Clint Kubiak became? I mean, upset maybe isn't the right word.
Yeah, zero. The answer is zero.
How concerned would you be for the Seahawks offense going forward? And again, answer this as if like concern means anything, because whatever. It's fucking football. Who cares? But you know what I mean?
It would be like a 4 or a 5 on a 1 to 10 scale. I do think like he does the most important thing, which is to play under center and utilize play action effectively and pass a lot on early downs, or pass it. I guess they don't pass a lot on early downs because their run rate is so high, but when they do, it's a lot of chunk plays on early downs. So that's all good. Do I think that someone else, I mean, I don't know. I think they got a good amount out of the talent as well. I guess maybe upgraded to a 6. It also just kind of depends on who would replace it.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I've never been a Clint Kubiak guy throughout this season, even when Sam Darnold was the best quarterback in the world.
I remember that week.
No, that was really fun. Remember? God, that
Yeah.
was awesome. Sadly, I don't think he is anymore.
You can't be all text Tristan if you don't have all text.
No, it's just I revised my take appropriately. Do I think Cliff Kingsbury could get the same production out of Seahawks offense? Probably. Do I think Mike McDaniel, of course, Mike Kafka? I'm less concerned with this if he left. Have the Seahawks ever lost an offensive coordinator to a head coaching position?
In the history of the Seattle Seahawks I don't think that any of Holmgren's OCs were ever promoted, were they?
I couldn't think. I mean, I was only mostly thinking back to Pete Carroll era, but like there's nobody. I mean, Jim Zorn went from quarterback coach to head coach.
Yes, which was an unusual situation. Yeah, I mean, the Seahawks generally have been better defensively than they have been offensively for a long period of time here. So they've had a lot of defensive coordinators, but not offensive coordinators.
I think Clint Kubiak's going to get a job based upon just kind of looking at the positions and who's out there. And I just like skimmed through call sheet, kind of who they were expecting for the different jobs. Which Jed Fish not on any of these, which is just great.
Bizarre. I think he was originally the favorite for the Browns job, and then the Browns are not one of the teams that has been reported to have requested him, to my knowledge. And
Atlanta is the one that call sheet has him at the highest. So
seems plausible.
I mean, I don't think all teams are plausible. I'm like Oakland, sure. I kind of thought it was Brian Flores' job to lose. But let me see if Jim Schwartz is the favorite right now per call sheet. I'm just like, okay. Like, that's the level of coaches. It's not that Jim Schwartz is a bad coach, probably, but it's definitely not Mike Macdonald and Ben Johnson.
Oh, it did happen with Mike Sherman. So that was Holmgren's first season in Seattle. Then he immediately got the Green Bay job.
The Green Bay
next
job.
year.
Okay. But it's like maybe Chris Shula, but you look at the options and it's like there's really nobody who's in that tier of when you look at the best coaches around the league, or we don't know, obviously, but like of the Mike Macdonald's, Sean McVay's, Kyle Shanahan's, even probably like Kevin O'Connell's and coaches like that. I think Brian Flores is going to be a good coach. I think Kevin Stefanski is going to get a job. John Harbaugh is going to get a job. Chris Shula might get a job, but there's still more jobs after that. You know, like there's just a lot of teams ended up firing their coaches this year. And who knows, maybe Mike McDaniel will get another job. He might not be available to be the offensive coordinator of the Seahawks. I do think, however, the Seahawks is going to be an enticing, if Clint Kubiak takes a job, the Seahawks is going to be an enticing destination. And I think that's kind of the best place to be for what Mike Macdonald is trying to do. And it's a cool thing where you could basically be like, it's almost like the Alabama thing, right? Where you could be like, we've got this great defensive coach as our head coach. And even your defensive coordinator is getting interviewed for jobs, but there are these opportunities. Or say like the Sean McVay's position as well, or Kyle Shanahan with defensive coordinators. Like they kind of just end up keep getting jobs because your team is good almost every year from how good the head coach is. So I think it's something that if I was one of those coaches who has been pretty successful either as a head coach or as an offensive coordinator on the offensive side of the ball, I'm coming to Seattle expecting that I'm going to get, at the very least, interviews for head coaching jobs.
Yeah, I think it's the best case scenario if you have a defensive-minded head coach, because this is one of the concerns that Ben Baldwin has raised in the past about hiring, a defensive coach is, even if you get like the right scheme in place, that guy's probably going to go be a head coach elsewhere, which is a fair concern. But so far, Mike Macdonald's defenses have been so good that it's well worth the trade-off.
Well, yeah, and it's also only been 2 years. But
they did lose an offensive coordinator last year. It was their choice, though.
Yes. Well, I mean, they're also trying. I thought you were going to say the concern was that a defensive coach will just like want an offensive coordinator who's going to complement their defense, which was the Pete Carroll thing, right? I mean, he ended up with, there were a few good offensive coordinators along the way, but eventually Pete Carroll was like, he came in and fixed the offense, and
Shoddy did nothing wrong.
So far, no, we're all Shoddy fans. So far, nepotism. But so far, Mike Macdonald has shown.
Which other famous NFL coaches can the Seahawks hire their sons as offensive?
I know one that we do not want.
But I don't know who you're thinking of off the top of my head. You looking at me is not necessarily
famous NFL coaches that we don't want their sons on as the offensive coordinator.
Oh, you're saying Pete?
Yeah.
I don't think that was a consideration.
He has been offensive coordinator technically in Seattle already.
I just don't buy that Brendan Carroll could have been that bad of an offensive line coach. I don't believe it. I refuse to believe it. Do you want to talk like he was at UW? Like, was he just
UW's offensive line was horrible last year.
Yeah,
the entire offseason was like, how do you fix the offensive line?
Yeah, they were horrible because they had no linemen on the roster previously. The linemen who were starting all transferred. Do you not remember that?
I do remember that. I'm just saying, I
don't think they underperformed expectations on the offensive line last year. I think they outperformed expectations in 2024. Like, my expectations were they were transferring, like, Maximus McCree, with all due respect, was like, hey, you were on the roster at Maryland for like 15 minutes. That was like his qualification. You're very tall, very large.
Damon got sacked 10 times at Oregon.
That also was a Damon situation.
He sucks.
No, because of the fact he was trying to make plays.
Right, we're on the same page here. Damon's not good.
I don't know how we got here. 2026 is a weird time.
I sure hope
no one was like, oh, thank God Brendan Carroll left. when
He was
left to go.
foisted. He was foisted.
No one said that. Jed Fish brought him from Arizona. You think it was just he wanted Pete Carroll, helping out that badly?
Yeah, wanted to pitch him.
All right. Do you have thoughts on this weekend's wildcard matchup? So the Rams did end up the number 5 seed. They'll play at Carolina first thing Saturday. So we will know after that how hard we need to be rooting for first the Packers and then the Niners, so as to avoid Seahawks Rams in round 2, which to your Oregon number 1 seed point would not be a huge reward for being the number 1 seed.
Wow, you got some Tosh Luke way into yourself, don't you? It's okay. You'll be a great recruiter. Honestly, team's looking good. Lifelong Cal fan. But I don't care. I would welcome a Rams matchup.
I would welcome a Rams matchup too. I would just welcome it in the conference championship.
What's the
game.
difference? If you're gonna play the Rams either way, why don't you get it out of the way? If they're gonna beat you it's the same as the fucking Ohio State thing. If you're gonna get your ass kicked by Ohio State, it doesn't matter whether you do it this week or next week.
Because here's the thing: is they would have to play another team the week after that. It would still be a lesser team they would be playing, and the Rams might lose in round 2 on the road. Like those are the reasons. So
sure,
yes, conditional on they will have to play the Rams. It doesn't matter whether it's round 2 or round 3. That's not the way it works.
I am rarely going to argue for the path of least resistance.
Yes, I know your take. You are bored by Seahawks blowouts. I'm
not bored by Seahawks blowouts, but it's like if you want to just like back into a Super Bowl, like give me the fucking Bills. I don't want to play the Patriots. I don't want to play the Broncos. I don't want to play the Panthers.
I definitely want to play the Patriots, not necessarily from a fraudulent standpoint, but I'd like to beat the New England Patriots in a Super Bowl or the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I agree. Well, no concerns there, but
because they're not going to make the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we're fine.
I think it's pretty unlikely.
I too would like to beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. Honestly, like looking at all the options, when the Seahawks make the Super Bowl, are like
if
the rematch with the Broncos, rematch with the Patriots, ability to play Josh Allen, possibly winning his first Super Bowl, and then you got the Jags. No, I don't think they're going to play the Rams in round 2, I guess, for what it's worth, if you ask my thoughts on it.
The math does suggest it is like unlikely that they do, because of the fact that the odds are pretty good that one of the 2 seeds below the Rams gets a win. Green Bay, Chicago, I don't know what the line is on that game, but
I believe the Packers are favored.
Pretty close to a toss-up, if not the Packers. The Packers are in fact 1.5 point favorites. And
you know what? I will cheer for the Bears in that game.
My rooting interest will depend on what happens in Rams Panthers. Call me after that game is over.
I don't like the Packers, and I do like the Bears, so I'm going to cheer for the Bears in that game. Okay. If you had to go through all the games, Miss Fantasy Genius was filling out a pool at work, which it sounds like so much fun working in an office. I've always wanted to do that. And so it was only the first round games, because they gave her a bracket, and I was like, do you have to fill out this whole thing? Because it's like kind of complicated.
It's not the straight bracket because of reseeding, although obviously if you're picking a team, there's only one way it can go. In your office, do you fill out brackets of German bands?
All of our favorite Finnish ones.
Clearly you don't know Finnish bands.
Yeah, I'd lose every bracket. I've never won Finnish Madness. Okay, give me who's gonna win. I'll just read you the games. Let's see if we had the exact same ones. Pittsburgh,
Houston.
Jacksonville, Buffalo. You really thought hard about that one. I like that.
Jacksonville.
New England, LA Chargers.
New England.
Carolina, Rams. Philly, San Francisco.
Philly.
Bears, Packers.
Bears.
Wow. We had 2 games that were off. I picked the Packers. And I also had the Bills over the Jaguars. Which it is. It's kind of frustrating the way that it shook out because I'm like, I want to see both the Jaguars and the Bills in the next round.
I assume the
But-
Bills, yeah, they are 1.5 favorites in that game, just as the Bears are. So I'm going against Vegas
Did
twice.
Mina have power rankings where the Jags were actually the number one team?
I don't know if I saw this.
Okay, I thought that was a thing I saw, and I was like, not to be like one of the people who are like, do you watch football? But like, come on.
I find that very unlikely.
Okay, I was like, the Seahawks are the power rankings. Any way you look at it, the Seahawks are the number one team in the league. But
Well, not any way you look at it. It could be by, you could.
it's like not like with the standard time thing. You could look at it in any crazy way.
Top 5 swamp cities in Northeast Florida.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I said Rams, Eagles, Packers, Texans, Bills, Patriots.
I mean,
Which
that
would-
is the favorites in every game, I think.
Which would lead. I mean, that's probably how you should do a playoff bracket. But that would lead to the Seahawks playing the Packers in round 2, obviously. But I don't care. Bring on the Rams.
Okay.
It would be so much fun.
I agree. I think it would be a very fun championship game. On that note,
Thanks for listening.
thanks.
I see what you did there.
Did a little searching for Portland cookies this
Okay.
week, and I did not find anything that I would say threatens Seattle's best cookies. One of my takes has been that it's odd that Portland has like such a strong ice cream culture, such a strong donut culture, and I don't feel like it has the same sort of cookie culture. That there's clearly no equivalent to Hello Robin in Portland.
I wonder if that's just randomness. Like, I don't know if Seattle, like, I don't know if there's anything about Seattle that's like cultivated cookie culture.
I don't think
Or-
so. No.
I mean, it could just be a byproduct of Seattle being a slightly bigger city.
It is interesting though to me. I mean, again, it's a bigger city, but Salt and Straw is the company that goes to Seattle, not the other way around. Voodoo Donuts comes to Seattle. There aren't Seattle donut shops going down to Portland. So it is interesting to me. I tried.
I mean, I think it's also because of like, it's like how Seattle, like Cafe Vita will be like Seattle, LA, New York. The Cha Cha will be like Seattle, LA.
That's fair.
Portland, this
Salt
is
and
such a
Straw went
good
to
corollary
LA
for
before
Oregon and Washington,
before Seattle.
where it's like we're big brother to them. LA and New York are what we consider our big brothers. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. No, I'm not. I'm not.
LA and San
disputing what
Francisco.
you're saying here.
I'm not saying anybody is right either, because I know the nerds on the Discord are ready to like critique me about this, but I do think it's a little bit of like sorry, take that out. Take that out. They're not nerds.
I'm definitely not taking it out now.
Nobody on the Discord's ever been critical about anything anybody said about a city or geography. But
Where do you think they learned this?
me? I'm not critical about
No,
cities or
that was
geography.
me.
Oh. No, we know that you're the problem. You're like, this is exactly what I want. I like the idea that you're cultivating like a culture of people being like one misstep on geography, and you're like, gotcha. You're like, that's what I'm looking for.
Luca didn't
like,
know the capital of Venezuela. Very disappointing last week.
He didn't know that. Oh, in the joke, or
No, he did not know the actual one. I believe is my.
I will take him pound for pound on world.
Maybe he
capitals
did.
against you.
There was. Oh,
Don't make me get him.
He didn't know Wellington because I named that when we were playing categories.
Are you sure that he didn't just not think of Wellington, or that he didn't know Wellington?
He didn't. I don't think he knew it when we mentioned it afterwards.
Give me a country right now.
I'm doing this right now.
I know nothing. I couldn't name this a single world capital at all. I basically can maybe name the biggest city or
Oh,
whatever.
dear.
But
Sometimes the capital, conveniently.
it is funny that geography is like his fucking thing.
Yeah. I mean, it was my thing to a degree at his age. That was, not long after I was in the state geography bay.
Oh wow! See, now you've got that held over. I'm like the one time that I was in the the bubble blowing championship at the Science Center.
That's what you had.
Yeah,
I'm
you've
still
got
not very
you've
good
got
at blowing bubbles.
the state. You were in the state geography bee.
Yes.
Luca. What competition do you think Uncle Al was in high school?
This is elementary school. It was not high school.
Elementary school. Uncle Al was in the state what B? What do you think he was in?
What?
Like, like a bean, like you have like a group, like a spelling bee and stuff.
Oh, okay.
But it was
what is the nerdiest thing you could think of?
it's nerdier than being a mathlete.
He was also a mathlete, so it's not that. It's like fucking Kevin G over here. You don't know if it gets worse than mathlete?
Kevin G was the real hero of that movie.
I want to say he was in like a how fast can you read competition?
How fast can you read competition?
Ooh,
Wait, come over here a little closer.
I'd be pretty good at that.
They don't have quick reading bees though. That would be really hard to like.
It's not as
like,
entertaining.
Done.
Also, how would you prove that you had
Exactly?
read it?
You'd have to have comprehension. You'd be like,
yeah.
Done. Here's what it said.
Remember when we had typing competitions?
Typing competitions?
Yeah.
I was bad at them all. Okay. Uncle Al was in.
But you thought you were good at them.
Oh, you and me, we had typing competitions?
Yeah.
God,
and I think the famous cousin Katie and Chris were involved in this.
The nerds might be coming from inside the house.
That's what I was saying.
Why are you clicking show desktop, peek at desktop? Stop clicking things. Okay. He was in the state geography bee.
Oh,
How do you think? You were jealous because you want to be in the state geography bee, aren't you?
Of course, yes.
You're really good at it.
I would say that
telling
Luca
Al to
is
name a country to have you say the capital, but
okay, let's go.
he says okay.
AirPod comes out for that one.
He took out an AirPod because to name a country.
All right, Latvia.
Latvia. He walked away.
Wow. I want to say it's
I do states, not countries.
States? That's everybody knows states. Countries is way harder. States is like fucking junior level geography. Get out
Okay,
of here.
yeah, and I don't care. Do you think Marco knows all 50 states?
Marco, that's your competition right now?
Not really.
They did the I Ready this week, and I always compare him to Ella, of course.
I beat Ella by 30.
He beat Ella by 30 points.
I got
So
the highest score in my English class.
you're looking at the smartest Carcino grandchild right here. Right there.
Smartest person.
and the best pitcher.
I'm pointing. That is true. He's the best. He's not the best pitcher Carcino grandchild. He's the best pitcher Carcino.
Without question. He's the best hitter Carcino too at this point.
Yeah, that's true.
Riga, though, is the capital of Latvia. So
Riga, Latvia, idiot.
So I still got that over you.
Al got it easy. He didn't name the country though. So
but it was random. I guess it wasn't random. If I didn't know the country, I couldn't name it. So it's not random.
capital of Kenya, go.
Nairobi, yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
Can I hear me?
Nairobi.
Yeah, he did hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you both said Nairobi.
Yeah.
So does Nairobi? Okay.
I don't know. You both said it. So capital of Belarus.
I don't know that one.
You don't.
What is it?
I don't
Tell
know.
me.
Minsk.
I was gonna say that, but I don't think it's Belarus.
I'm still in Kenya here. Double checking.
It is Minsk.
Oh, it's fucking Minsk.
Okay.
You two suck. Turns out secretly just how I became the smartest Carcino by having the same level of degree as you.
I'm the smartest one 'cause I'm
The famous cousin Katie and our cousin Chris have dramatically, and Michael, all of the delightful Carcino children have dramatically higher degrees than both of us.
This
To be
Keelan
clear.
count?
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, yeah.
she has a master's degree.
I'm sure
Hmm.
her already score is very high.
We got out of undergrad and we were like, see you later to college.
I'm not going back.
Not doing more of that shit.
I
I
took
already
a
know the
class on
capital of
R.
Belarus.
I didn't need to go to college for it. Yeah, you're done learning. You've learned that. Anyways, this was a discussion about cookies at one
Oh, were we
point.
talking about cookies?
Then you were complaining about the Discord, and that led us to geography. So
That is true.
what a tangled web we weave. We did some salt. I did some Salt Lake City cookies for the record.
Salt Lake
And-
City cookies. Did we already talk about these?
I don't know if
Or
we ever
repeat-
did talk about it on the pod, but it was interesting because Ruby Snap cookies.
I think we're
I-
done with you. We've already proven that you're the smartest Carcino grand.
Unless you want to talk about cookies, but you really only know Hello Robin,
he only knows Hello Robin. That's all he's got.
which is great. So I had gone to Ruby Snap cookies in downtown Salt Lake City before, but not recently. This was, like 7 years ago. And
Okay.
when I went this time, what was fascinating was like, is this the inspiration for Treat? Because it's also a place that has all of their cookies are named women's names,
Okay.
women presenting names, and similar style, not quite as large and gooey as the Treat cookies, but in the same ballpark. So now I'm curious, like obviously there's some overlap with the way that Crave and Crumble is Utah based chains do things, but the female cookie names element in particular, and like rotating cookies every month along with a set core menu, made me think like maybe this was an inspiration for treats. That was kind of fascinating. Anyways, Portland cookies. The ones that I tried, Papa Hayden, which is a dessert place on 23rd. I think it's not necessarily known for it, as a bakery specifically, but like pies, which are baked obviously, and cakes and that sort of thing. Had their cookie, had the Zupan's Z cookie, which is a local market that's kind of in the metropolitan market range. Although the New Seasons, I didn't try their cookie because we were there after hours and they were not hot and fresh. New Seasons just calls it the cookie, and it seems highly similar to the Met Market cookie, which is quite fascinating to me. Had the Zupans, and then today had a cookie from Coquine, a bakery in the Mount Tabor neighborhood. And I gotta say, none of them would crack the final four of our search for Seattle's best cookie. All kind of on the dry side and maybe a
All
little
right.
bit more crispy than I want. Clearly my favorite cookie is gooey. So if the Portland listener or the listener who travels to Portland has Portland cookie thoughts, please let us know because this search is going to go on a little bit farther. I really want to try cake face, which seems a little more in the treat vein, I would say, even though I do not like the name Cookie
I was
McCase
gonna
face.
say, I'm sorry. No cookie named Cookie McCake Face can be the best cookie of anywhere.
And I got to try the cookie at New Seasons.
Okay.
So there you go. Follow along.
I had this thought about Crumble. We were driving up the I-5 corridor and in I don't know, one of those towns down there. And I saw Crumble. And I was basically just like, why is it that in all of these places there's a Crumble cookies? Like what happened that this place became the one? Because their cookies aren't very good and they're not like special in any way. And then right after that, there became a number of bold predictions about the demise of Crumble cookies. And I think about how quickly they expanded. And I was like, at first, I was like, damn, Crumble must be thriving because the owner of Crumble is paying Kalani Sataki to stay at BYU. So I was like, this company must be doing great. But now I'm a little bit more skeptical. But it really seemed like something where it's like, I guess this was just out there. The market was there for anybody to take. And if somebody had the infrastructure to just go, but it's not like you have a Crumble cookie and you're like, whoa, like this cookie is better than almost any other cookie. That's why it's expanded. It's kind of just like, it's like I don't know, it's a replacement level cookie. In my
But
opinion.
that's how franchising works. Franchising isn't necessarily like the highest quality thing. It's like the most repeatable. When you expand that, I mean, we've talked about this with local food chains. The larger you expand, the more difficult it becomes to maintain your quality. Although we are confident that Pagliacci could maintain their quality with one more location in the Renton area.
Hello. I mean, it's not like there's one location where you're like, that Pagliacci sucks. All of them are just
Exactly.
as good. But literally, we do not need to talk about this. We spent an entire Seahawks post game. We were like, we clinched the number one seed, but has anybody mentioned how good Pagliacci is?
Exactly. The other place I stopped on our way back from Portland, we hit up the Ridgefield In and Out, the brand new
Hello.
one, the first in the state of Washington. Going on a Thursday afternoon at about 2:30, it was not particularly crowded. It was about 10 to 15-minute line at the drive-through. And yeah, In and Out is great. I'd had it on Christmas Eve, almost exactly 2 weeks ago. So when we were in Orange County, so it wasn't as novel for me as it could have been, but still delicious. So there you go.
All right.
On that note,
Thanks for listening.
thanks.
See you at the geography bee.
Oh man, should we do a Discord wide geography, man?
No, we
Who
shouldn't.
says no?